Extreme survival is spreading across China. The economy is running into a depression. The collapse of this industry in China is worse than that of real estate. Shipping giant. 30% of China's shipments to the United States have been canceled.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
Extreme survival is spreading across China. The economy is running into a depression. As the Sino-US trade war escalates sharply, the Chinese economy is entering a deep cooling that is silent on the surface but shocking in reality. The closure of shops in major first-tier cities, the avalanche of consumption, the sharp decline in the number of immigrants, and the sluggish real estate market present a silent Great Depression. The latest economic data and the real scenes on the streets jointly release a dangerous signal. Chinese society is entering a tight survival mode. First, consumption has fallen off a cliff and shops have closed down on a large scale. According to data from the Beijing Municipal Bureau of Statistics, the total retail sales of consumer goods in March fell by 9.9% year-on-year. The retail sales of goods fell by 10.6%, and the catering revenue fell by 3.8% in the first quarter. Restaurants and clothing shops in Beijing CBD, Dongxi Street, World Trade Center, and other areas have closed down, and the streets are deserted. The blogger directly reported, from 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., there were only a few tables of customers on a barbecue street. Then, the property market was wailing, and the number of migrants dropped sharply. The average monthly viewing volume of secondhand houses in Beijing plummeted by 15% year-on-year, and the listing cycle was as high as 189 days. 30% of the houses in Chaoyang district were still difficult to sell after being listed for more than half a year. Even if the school district houses in Xicheng district were lowered 5 times, they were difficult to sell. The loss of the migrant population has become the main reason, and the demand for housing has shrunk seriously. Look again, saving money fulfills the melody of democracy, and saving as much as possible spreads rapidly. Social media is spreading the survival guide, saving money to the extreme, selling valuable assets, and not investing easily, spreading from the southeast coast to Sichuan, Gansu, and other places. Lanchu respondent said, "I would rather buy gold than consume easily." Next, the impact of the trade war is beginning to show, and the shadow of manufacturing is pressing. Factories in East China and South China have stopped production due to export obstructions, and a large number of goods are in backlog. Young people have difficulty finding jobs, and setting up stalls and delivering takeout have become the mainstream. Flexible employment competition is fierce, and survival anxiety has spread across the country. Zhao Xiao commented, "When saving as much as possible becomes a consensus among the people, and when consumption, investment, and innovation are all extinguished, a society enters a negative spiral of austerity, self-protection, and internal cycle recession." Apollo.com commentator Wang Duran summed up in one sentence that the negative spiral phenomenon is profoundly changing the operating logic of Chinese society, and austerity and depression have become characteristics of the times that cannot be ignored. The collapse of this industry in China is worse than that of real estate. Sun Rihu of Apollo.com reported that the piano was once the favorite aristocratic toy of the middle class. According to a business magazine, 7,000 piano stores closed in first- and second-tier cities last year. In 2024, the piano industry experienced a utopian collapse, and this industry is even worse than real estate. This is a clear sign that China's middle class is shrinking, and even the middle class is struggling to cope with the economic downturn and has run out of money. The net profit of the leading piano company Pearl River Piano plummeted by 90% in the first 3 quarters, and Helen Piano lost nearly 100 million yuan in a year. You know, the piano was once the pride of China's industrial economy. Pearl River Piano alone monopolized more than 1/4 of the global piano market. Nowadays, the Noble Yamaha, which is priced at 68,000 yuan, can't even sell for 5,000 yuan on Xianyu. The parents even smiled bitterly and said, "The piano occupies 2 square meters. According to the current housing prices in the community, these 2 square meters have depreciated by 150,000 yuan, which is equivalent to paying 20 yuan a day to maintain a pile of scrap metal that takes up space." Some netizens think that it is because the middle class has no money. There is also a piano teacher who claims to have 15 years of teaching experience saying, "The tuition fee has been reduced to 700 yuan a month, and it is still struggling to support." Netizens said, "It really feels like the middle class is getting smaller and smaller now. My family was considered middle class in the first 2 years, but not in the past 2 years. The middle class has been eliminated. Most parents of cows and horses have finally realized that even if their children learn piano, they will at most be cows and horses who can play the piano. It is better to feed their children better with that money." Shipping giant. 30% of China's shipments to the United States have been canceled. Global shipping giant Hapag-Lloyd said that due to the Sino-US trade conflict, 30% of the company's customers' shipments from China to the United States have been canceled. A spokesman for Hapag-Lloyd, a container shipping group headquartered in Germany, told Reuters on April 23 that 30% of the company's customers' shipments from China to the United States have been canceled, while demand for goods from Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam has increased significantly. Because the Chinese Communist Party refuses to give up its unfair trade practices, U.S. President Trump has currently imposed a 145% tariff on Chinese goods, and the Chinese Communist Party retaliates by imposing a 125% tariff on American goods. Hapag-Lloyd told the Washington Post that customers began to cancel orders on a large scale after Trump announced the global reciprocal tariff policy on April 2nd. Mr. Jian, a container freight driver at Shenzhen terminal, said the high tariff doubled the product price, making it unsellable. As a result, many goods were withdrawn from export, causing a significant impact on foreign trade, as the U.S. is no longer importing China's goods. American economist David J. Wong explained that the cancellation of many shipments from China to the U.S. reflects the growing uncertainty of American companies, unwilling to take risks with future bookings. This marks a long-term weakening of Sino-U.S. trade. David J. Wong added that the 30% order cancellation signals a sharp drop in demand, likely due to rising tariffs, weaker consumer demand, or the risk of a trade war. This decoupling of U.S. dependence on China indicates a shift in the economic and import structure, further widening the trust gap between the two countries. According to multiple media reports, since the implementation of the reciprocal tariff policy, a large number of cargo ships and cargo flights on the China-U.S. route have been canceled, and many exporters have suspended shipments. The busy export scene at Shanghai port came to an abrupt end in just a few days. Mr. Qian, a Guangdong export businessman who was on a business trip in Shanghai at the time, told Radio Free Asia on April 11th that Guangdong Yantian port also saw a similar situation as Shanghai port, with containers piled up like mountains and very few container ships going out to sea. According to Hong Kong's Ming Pao, people engaged in China-U.S. shipping and logistics business revealed that on April 10th, the booking volume of container ships departing from multiple ports in northern and southern China to the United States fell by more than half. Mr. Li, who works at a dye factory in Shenzhen, said many exporters at Yantian port now have few orders. Containers filled with goods bound for the U.S. are piling up as American buyers have asked to suspend shipments. David J. Wong said that the current overall consumption in the United States accounts for more than 45% of China's exports. The large number of goods that China originally exported could not be sold, which would lead to the deterioration of cash flow, huge storage pressure, and more serious overcapacity. Small and medium-sized private enterprises would be the first to be hit. David J. Wong said large firms may gain from subsidies, but small and medium exporters will face layoffs and closures. Coastal regions will suffer strained finances, falling tax revenues, and supply chain disruptions, pressuring the RMB, cutting foreign exchange earnings, and fueling capital flight, further weakening the currency and investment market. The Canton Fair, opening on April 15th in Guangzhou, reflects the impact of U.S. tariff policies. Many Chinese exporters are facing a life-and-death situation. One business owner noted that 60 to 70% of their sales come from American clients, but tariffs have caused delays in shipments and payments. Mr. Li observed that while the fair is open, the transaction volume is very low. Wang Xin, president of the Shenzhen Cross-Border E-Commerce Association, warned that high tariffs make it difficult for Chinese sellers to survive in the U.S. market, potentially causing a surge in unemployment.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
China's internet giant 360 lost 4 billion yuan in 3 years. GAC Group lost over 700 million yuan in Q1. On April 25, GAC Group reported a net loss of RMB 732 million for the first quarter of 2025, marking a sharp reversal from a net profit of 1.22 billion renminbi in the same period last year. Operating income fell 7.95% year-on-year to 19.65 billion renminbi. This follows the company's historic first full-year loss in 2024, where net profit plummeted by 221.8% to a loss of 4.35 billion renminbi. The financial report cited declining sales and heavy promotional spending as key reasons for the loss. Analysts pointed out that the fierce price war in the new energy vehicle market has severely impacted GAC Group's performance, affecting both its self-owned and joint venture brands like GAC Trumpchi, GAC Ion, GAC Honda, and GAC Toyota. The outlook remains grim as competition and market involution intensify in 2025, further eroding profitability. On the same day GAC released its report, Great Wall Motors also disclosed a steep 45.6% year-on-year drop in first quarter net profit, highlighting the broader industry downturn. On April 26, 360 Security Technology released its 2024 annual report and 2025 first quarter report, revealing deepening financial losses. Since posting its first annual loss in 2022, 360 has accumulated total losses of 4 billion renminbi over the past 3 years. In 2024 alone, the company recorded operating income of 7.948 billion renminbi, down 12.23% year-on-year, and a net loss of 1.094 billion renminbi, more than double the previous year's loss. The deterioration continued into 2025. In the first quarter, 360 reported operating income of approximately 2 billion renminbi, with a net loss of 273 million renminbi, further widening from a loss of 110 million renminbi in the same period last year. The company attributed the increased losses to ongoing high R&D investment and the weakening growth of traditional business lines. Despite its position as a leading cybersecurity company closely tied to the Chinese government, 360 has struggled with revenue pressures amid macroeconomic fluctuations and intense market competition. High R&D costs, poor profitability in new businesses like smart hardware, and rising marketing expenses have dragged down overall performance. Founded in 2005 by Zhou Hongyi, 360 once maintained annual net profits of around 3 billion RMB between 2017 and 2022, except 2019. However, the company's failure to build stable profit models in emerging fields has pushed it into a prolonged financial slump.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.